Beautiful people open their mouths and smell like weird lunch.
Is that what you call him?
Sequels open their bodies, acting like somebody. Beautiful martyrs licking their angel figurines clean. Firework stars popping their cans to simplicity. And I wonder who I wanna see most like. I just can't remember why I took the chance to hide. And I wonder why they care about my fate.
I'm home and I'm just giddy about it. Like, that curly top did a vlog where she goes to New York and she talks about how like her childhood dream was like always to just like exist in New York City and like live that lifestyle, and like she finally went for the first time as an adult and she was just running around like internally just the entire time. And that's exactly when she said that, something clicked. I was like, that's exactly how it feels for me in Seattle. Like yeah, also my immune system's suffering. It was too hectic before I left and I just didn't prioritize getting a flu shot over like getting the rest of my affairs in order, and so now I'm like this. But it was such a treat and a delight to be home in the Bay Area for a week. I love this time of year, like the fall winter months in the Bay Area. They just feel so like soothing and calm to me, and like it was just really nice to reconnect there. But then the second the plane did a loop around Seattle, it just washed over me again, like just the infatuation and the crush that I have on this place. Like, it's inexplicable. Like, there's so many reasons. I was telling my friend Michelle, who always gets it when I talk about my love for Seattle, because she had the same experience in Berlin, which is a city she moved to not for a job, not for a person, not for school, not for any like material reason, but just because she wanted to be there. And like, she's like, there is a special connection that you have with places like that. And just, oh my God. Oh, it just like all the feelings that I had when I first visited here 4 years ago just like washed over me. This is an evergreen, it's the evergreen state, but it's an evergreen place for me. Like, it's so refreshing for me to be here. And I had a nice little, I do these little Instagram story debriefs sometimes, or I'll just spend like 10 panels of an Instagram story against everyone's wishes, talking about something completely inane. One time it was a cheap versus expensive taste test on the curtains that I had ordered for my room, and I'd gotten the most engagement like ever on that. It was literally just a poll and people were so invested, and I was like, good, because I'm invested, that's why I make the story. Then I made another one as soon as I got back from the East Coast, which was where I was traveling. I didn't vlog there because when I'm traveling now, I do Instagram reels. That's just kind of the format and the medium I've realized is most, I was gonna say feasible, but just sort of like harmonious with my style of traveling, because I want to be present. I don't like pulling out the camera and being like, hey guys, so like now we're going to the bodega. Like, because for me, when I travel, it's always to see people, and I never want to interrupt those social dynamics. But so I've been doing Instagram reels. So if you're not following me on Instagram, like, that's where you'll see my travels if you care at all about that. And that's also where you'll see these inane Instagram little diatribes. The latest was about astrocartography, based on the comments from one of you. I'll pull it up here. But in a vlog where I was talking about how, like, when I think about my standard of living and like quality of life, Seattle matches that. Like, for me, the things that I think of as a high quality of life, Seattle, Montana have those things. But a place like New York, DC, Boston, like, I know that for other people, that's their high quality of life, and I totally would understand why, but it's not for me. And one of you was like, I wonder if Seattle is on your astrocartography chart. And I was like, would love to know. I'm a very curious person. I'm very I try to be open-minded. And while I can't say I'm very astrology literate, astrocartography specifically connected with me as, like, I'm going to say it, a pseudoscience that, like, makes a little too much sense because it's basically just your astrological chart. I'm going to repurpose my freaking Instagram story on YouTube. So sorry for the few thousand of you that watch that story and are also maybe watching this that are getting the overlap. But I want to keep everyone plugged in because... Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Basically, it's your astrological chart mapped to the globe. So it's a map with a bunch of lines for, like, Pluto, Venus, like all the planets, basically. Every single line means something different. Like, one means, like, chaos and destruction. That's your Pluto line. Venus, I think, is, like, beauty, design, love. And then, like, there's different lines, but they basically just sort of show you, like, which cities connect with you and resonate with you astrologically. And lo and freaking behold, the Pacific Northwest is just, like, littered with lines. The East Coast, it's quiet for them. It's quiet on my chart for the East Coast. I'm so sorry, East Coasters. Like, I always thought that I liked the West Coast just because I was born here, so it's familiar to me. I, like, would never chalk it up to, like, this place just is the best place, just, like, objectively. I would make that claim, but I know that that's just, like, I always thought it was just because I grew up here that, like, I had such a fondness for the West Coast. But now I'm like, astrocartography wise, I'm being bolstered here. Like, my opinions are being supported. Usually when I post one of those, like, link clicks on my Instagram story that I now have because I hit 10K, my preppy style tattoo is still coming, guys. I just need to find a place to do it in December when I'm back in the Bay Area. But yeah, so every time I post, like, one of those little link clicks, it's usually for a new video, and a whopping, like, maybe 20 people will click it. Like, maybe 50 max will click it. And my pizza's here. Pagliacci's makes its second appearance in my videos. We'll get to you in a minute. And we'll get to you in a minute because we're watching season 3 of Succession, baby. We're having a little artist date tonight. What was I saying? Yeah, 400. I didn't even check it when the story expired. It was probably in the 500 range. 500 people clicked on the link to check out. I couldn't tell who. I just could tell 500 people based on the insights had clicked on it to check out their astrocartography. So I was like, I know you bitches care about these stupid ass Instagram rants, and I'm never going to discount what I think is interesting again, because clearly I'm not alone and other people think it's interesting, even more interesting than, like, the actual, like not serious content, but, like, intentional content I make on YouTube. So there's that. But I could not stop smiling through my mask the second we flew over Seattle. The colors were just dramatically changing. And I thought when I left, the colors were changing, and I thought they had changed. Like, I thought that fall was fall and that we were in it and it was just gonna look like that. I was wrong. We had barely, that was tip of the iceberg. Like, it is orange, it is red, it is yellow, it is beautiful here. The ground is littered with leaves. The streets are just, they're like, well, they're wet. They're wet from the rain, but then the stoplights, and maybe it's just me romanticizing my whole ass life, but I just find beauty a lot of places. But anyway, the street lights, the car lights, the headlights, they all light up the ground because when it's wet, you get the reflectiveness of it. And it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of reasons I shouldn't like it here, but I just really do. I just really do. It just wells up inside me the second I get here that, like, this is where I should be. And I am just overjoyed. Are there any YouTube mutuals watching that would want to do an apartment swap with me if you live in a different city? Because I saw that Jenny, where I live, did that. New York to LA, swapped apartments for a month. That way you're both still paying rent, but you're not losing anything. If anyone wants to do that, please let me know because I'd be very down, especially if you live in Vancouver, anywhere in Canada, really. New York, LA, I don't know, Miami, I don't know. Like literally just places that I haven't spent much time. Would love to do that, so let me know.
I don't think that I'm crazy and I don't think I'm that amazing, but I will let you believe that if you need that, or if you need something to believe about me, if you
Hello, it is me, Father Christmas, here to serve. A really odd phenomenon that you experience when you start to expose yourself online in any sort of intimate, personal way. As some of us pursue the quest towards purple palacehood, aka spilling your guts on the internet, and in return receiving a lot of connection and support. And some people may think that's lunacy. How could you ever receive anything good from the internet? It's a place of flaming trash, but some of us do. One interesting thing that I've experienced is how comfortable I am sharing with strangers parasocially. That sits well with me. I don't mind. I like having a connection with you all through our like vulnerable, intimate, shared experiences. The weird thing when you're a creator is having people from your past or just people from strange, distant corners of your life out themselves as a viewer. That is always a little unsettling and a little alarming. And I think it's because, and I'm trying to like analyze this because I've thought about this many, many times before, and I haven't exactly been able to put into words. I feel like this is the stuff of Gia Tolentino essays. This is the stuff of like a Johnny Sun poem. Like some existential internet theorist should really capture what this is. But somebody that had access to my life and then gave that up, aka they knew me at one point, we were acquaintances or we spoke or we knew each other, and then that connection dropped, either because they dropped it or I dropped it. Like it feels weird for a lost connection to still have a portal into my life, be that ex-friends, ex-lovers, ex-people you knew at summer camp and then never talked again. Like it feels odd that like they know me or they knew me socially and they continue to know me parasocially. I don't know, but that pipeline, the pipes are a little moldy, mildewy, rusty. Like I don't know. Something about that is weird to me because I'm just like, why don't you just say hello and like reconnect if you're interested and invested enough in my life to like watch my content? Why not just like reestablish a relationship with me? But instead they choose the easy way out, which is just to like get access to my life but not like put any of the work into actually maintaining a relationship with me. When I put it like that, is it making any sense? Like, I don't know, something about that. Weirdo behavior. People that I'm actively friends with, I don't feel any weirdness when they watch my videos. I'm like, you do that if you want to. If you don't, please don't. Like, I don't want anyone to watch my videos because I think I want them to watch them. I don't mind if my friends watch them because they know me. It's those loose connections where I'm like, please let me know if you're watching. That's that on that. I don't know if anyone wants to hear my thoughts on the East Coast after spending a month there and not having been there in 4 years. But I just finished watching a vlog from Miss Jenny, where I live. Already mentioned her. She's doing the lovely apartment swap idea a la The Holiday, which I never watched, but a lot of you let me know that that is indeed where the idea took root. And she's doing an LA trial and she liked it and she wants to move there. And I'm like, good for you, bestie. It is weird to see people move to places that you didn't or don't have a glowing review for. I completely understand why people would want to live in Los Angeles and why so many of my good friends love it. However, it just did not spiritually align with me for whatever reason. And so I'm always like, whoa. It's just always interesting how differently people can experience cities. I think that's a common thread of what I've been reflecting on in these vlogs. And I really felt that when I visited New York City, because I had never been to New York City before, which always shocks people. Which I don't know if that speaks to like people's class analysis of me, or if that speaks to people's like cultural analysis. I don't really know where that comes from, but people are just surprised, I think, because, I don't know, people just go there growing up. My family never went to cities. Okay, here's another thing I want to talk about. I'm Marie Kondoing my clothes right now, but we're taking a break. Because I could do that. I could do that while I vlog, I suppose. A peek into my underwear drawer. That's actually what these vlogs are. They're a peek into my underwear drawer. Like, that's literally physically a manifestation of what these vlogs are. But anyway, if we were at dinner right now, here's kind of the motifs of what I'd be talking about. Basically, because I just went to dinner with my friend Sandra, and this is literally what I was talking to her about. Was I like to ask people, like, when you were growing up, and this is to Americans, sorry, non-Americans, but maybe this even applies to you. But as an American, when you were growing up, did you have a relationship to Los Angeles and New York City where you were like, that is the dream, that is the goal, that's aspirational, I need to be there when I'm grown up, I'm going to live in the city, I'm going to thrive, and it's going to be this amazing romantic experience, I'm going to fucking be there? Because I didn't. And I wonder if that's because people visited those cities at an early age. I'd always just chalk it up to like there's so much media representation of those cities that people glorify them, which is fine. Send all the media those ways. Send it all that way, okay? Other cities in America, we don't need it. Let's be on the low-key DL here. We don't need to be talked about. Just let those two cities have it. I'd always chalk it up to the media representation of those two cities, making them so endowed in people's dreams and so romanticized. However, I'm starting to realize that a lot of people did visit those cities growing up. Like, a lot of people, like when their families go on vacation, they go to like Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York. They like go to cities on vacation. That's not the way the Berry family did it. I was telling my friend Sandra, I was like, until I was 15, only places I had been were California, Michigan, because my family's from there, Arizona, because I have family there, and New Mexico, because I have family there. And then Arkansas, because a family member had a timeshare there, and Hawaii, because a family member had a timeshare there. So, like, we only traveled to visit family, and then all other vacations, we were camping in California state parks. Like, I had never even been to, like, Oregon or Washington until, like, the end of high school, basically. That's just the way we did it. And honestly, if you need a guide to California state parks and which ones are great to camp at, I got you, and I'm really glad that's the way I spent my youth. But I think that may have prevented me from developing a like aspirational relationship with major metropolitan cities. And if I had that relationship with New York, I probably would have visited like so much earlier. Like as soon as I had financial freedom and agency, so probably the age of like 21, 22, I probably would have booked a flight and just like visited. But I didn't have that relationship with it. It was just a place that I knew people liked and I should probably go. But I hadn't gone. So now I went. This is my roundabout way of giving the lead into like how the trip was. Just to give you some context. I went knowing that like people really glorify New York City and like it's like it has its own like people develop a relationship with it like it's a person. Like it really has like legs to it as a city. Like it's not just like a city, it's alive. And so I went there with that in mind. First night I was there, I was like, yeah. Yeah, I get it. Because you come in and things are going and pacing and you're out to dinner and you're getting drinks and everyone's cool and hot and fun and you're like, oh my God, like this place is just like gushing with just life. Like this place is alive. Then after spending 7, 8, 9 days there, I started to get like really overstimulated, like really overwhelmed. And you know me, I'm on stimulants.
I'm lightly manic at times. I'm very neurotic. Like, those things would all lead me to believe that I would be able to keep pace with New York to some regard, you know? No, I needed refuge. Like, I was so glad that our Airbnb that we had in Brooklyn was like very quiet, because I really needed like the nights there to just like reboot and like regather my spirit and like get my wherewithal together. And by the end of it, like I found myself just wanting to like stay in, but like I continued to just like have plans, so I could not just stay in. And as I like to be a maximalist when I travel. I like to stack it the hell up. However, when I travel, it's usually not to major metropolitan cities. Like, usually when I travel, it's to like Montana, the Eastern Sierras, Joshua Tree, Vancouver. Like, it's to more like sort of earthy places, which makes it an extremely less expensive trip. I've noticed that. Vacationing in cities, woo, the money flies. The money flies. It's going, it's going, it's gone. Your bank account is gushed out. I am feeling extremely grateful that when I visit the Bay Area, I have a place to stay and I have a place to cook meals, because I cannot imagine how expensive it is to visit San Francisco. Like, I've never had to conceptualize that because I've always had a home base there. Must be insanely expensive because New York drained me, like, just fiscally. I felt just as drained as I was filled from that place. So I think I netted zero. I think I got to net neutral on sort of my energy levels there, but it was a lot. I'm just not used to that much. Ultimately, TLDR, here's the review. Here's what I've been telling people is like, when I think about like where I want to live, there's the locale and there's the people. For Seattle, you wipe away all the people, I still want to live here because I just like the bones of the city. Bringing astrocartography back in here, I just like the bones of the city. I like the structure of the city. I like the layout. I like the neighborhoods. I like the topography. I like the views. I like the bridges. I like the mountains. I like the forest. I like the water. I like the sound. I like the islands. Got unlimited stuff to say about it. Like, I just like, for some reason, the like, just the presentation of the city. Like, I just like that. New York, I would not live there for the city. I would live there for the people. Because usually when I visit a place, when I used to visit Seattle, I visited my friend Sandra, and she was the person I knew here. I visit my friend Brad in Charleston. He was the person I knew there. The person that I'm visiting is the person I know there. New York, I knew far too many people. Like, I didn't even know that I knew this many people, but people are coming out of the woodwork. I was like, you live here, you live here, you just moved here, everybody's there. And I feel like 2 years ago, that wasn't the case, but like for some reason, everybody in my life just like converged on New York, and they were like, this is it. We're living here now. And I'm like, honestly, great vibes, because it makes visiting really fun because I get to see so many people. Like, the transplants that moved there, very outgoing and friendly, and like went to a party. Usually when I go to parties on the West Coast, here's my experience on the West Coast, because I've lived in LA, San Francisco, and Seattle at this point, so I feel like I have a good distribution of like West Coast atmosphere. Usually on the West Coast, when I go to a party with people, when I get there, I talk to people I know and the people they know. So it's like, I meet my people that I know, and then if they're with other people, I meet those people. And that seems like a good thing to me. I'm like, that's good. New York, it was like, I would go talk to people I knew, talk to people they knew, and then just random extra people would just be coming up, introducing themselves, talking, vibing. And I was like, have I been missing out on this experience my whole ass life? I think so. I was stunned. I was like, this is so fun. My social life would be 10 out of 10 here. I'd be vibing. I would be having an excruciating amount of extroversion. And that idea entices me. And so for that reason, I'd want to spend like a month in New York. But I know that any time period longer than like a year there, maybe a couple years, like, would crush me. I also felt very image obsessed when I was there in a way that I don't when I'm in Seattle. I just like feel much more comfortable like presenting myself here. I don't know how to explain that, but like, I hate feeling image obsessed. I'm just at my worst when I'm like that. I don't know about you guys. This has been a nice little procrastination. deleted TikTok to encourage myself to stop taking little momentary breaks that turn into 40-minute scrolls. And here I am finding other ways to do it. So don't give up. There's unlimited ways to procrastinate. You'll find another. Don't worry about it. Focusing, who needs that? So